Nearly 9 in 10 public schools struggle to hire teachers at the start of the school year. That's a stat from the start of the school year. Teachers have high burnout levels, as we all know, with more than half of educators thinking about leaving the profession altogether. Joining us today to offer insight into the benefits of AI in education is AI expert and instructor of marketing at Texas Christian University, Dr. Elijah Clark. Dr. Clark, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate your time.
All right, thanks for having me.
So the National Education Association says 9 out of 10 public schools had trouble hiring enough teachers at the beginning of the school year. I want to focus a little on that stat and get your thoughts, your opinion on why this is a statistic, why this is a problem.
The main issue is that teachers are just overburdened with the amount of work they have to produce. And not only that, you also have the parents now wanting to be more involved with their curriculum, their child's curriculum. So right now, teachers are just burnt out. There's a lot going on. Students are a little more needy, per se, where they want that hands-on learning. They have more questions, and you have to change your curriculum based on that particular student. And every student wants that personalized learning experience. And that becomes a lot of work for our different professionals, teachers, college professors as well.
Of course, and knowing many people who work in districts, I also know, too, there's a financial burden that's cast upon them when they're having to buy their own school supplies, their own materials for these children to learn. So, yes, a whole culmination of different things can lead to that overwhelming feeling. I want to talk to you about AI specifically and how AI can be helpful in creating what's known as personalized learning. What is this?
Personalized learning is where students are essentially, they do something and they get that instant feedback from the teacher. So for example, if they're taking a quiz or a test, what would happen is as they're taking that test or that quiz, and maybe let's say it's elementary school, they spell elephant wrong. And then from there, the student's able to get that instant feedback. Well, here's why you spelled it wrong. Here's some suggestions for the future. Here's some ways you can improve that. So it gets that instant feedback, that instant grading. And right there, the students can get the lesson and the review done right there with the computer system versus having to wait for that test to be submitted and graded and returned and then set up a private meeting with that teacher.
AI can also save them a great deal of time.
Right. And that's, for example, I use it within the classroom, let's say with my syllabus, creating that syllabus in the classroom, spell checking the syllabus, checking it, making sure I'm building presentations or announcements. So, for example, one thing that I did this semester is I created a lecture. And then once I created that lecture, I needed a quick pop-up quiz. And what I did was I actually took that lecture and put it inside of ChatGPT and told it to read that lecture and then make a quiz out of this, a 20-question multiple choice quiz out of this particular lecture. So that's just a way that teachers can use artificial intelligence in the classroom.
I also want to be clear here. This is using AI as a tool. This is not using AI to do your job per se.
That is correct. We don't want to rely on it too much. And that's one of the downsides of artificial intelligence is you can become reliant on it too much. But let's say similar to a calculator where we need to still teach the basics of math and understanding how it works, understanding what these charts and diagrams mean. And one thing, again, is also the navigation system. We use that to drive. And the AT&T service just went down recently, and some of us got lost in the streets on our way to our destination. And we don't want to rely too much on artificial intelligence in the classroom because of that similar situation where students will get lost in their education and they're building that education.
Bill Gates recently told CNBC AI chatbots can teach children to read in 18 months rather than years. Would you say his assumption is accurate?
I believe it to be very accurate. I think with the way artificial intelligence, the speedy process of which is growing right now, is something where students are not just students, but teachers and faculty and parents and everybody's just growing with artificial intelligence. We can now go there and just ask it a question and it'll give us a personalized response to our particular question. So right now with students learning with those tools and those resources, I don't see why that wouldn't be a true statement. And I think it's going to get even better than 18 years at a certain, or 18 months at a certain point.
Oh, I'm sure it will. Absolutely. Okay. Now that we've talked about all the perks and the pluses, we did touch upon one of the downsides. What would be some other areas that you would caution educators and parents when it comes to AI?
Just be mindful I have two kids as well, and I can tell you, be mindful, don't let your kids just use the internet. And I'm sure that goes beyond just artificial intelligence, but one thing that can happen as well is you have these AI and these artificial intelligence systems and programs that are building our kids, and teaching our kids too often, teaching them things that we may disagree with. So we do want to be mindful and make sure that we are monitoring what they're doing on the internet, and making sure that it is something that we want our kids and our students to learn.
Dr. Clark, we so much appreciate your time this morning. Thank you so much for coming on the show. We appreciate it.